Exchange, Stephan Van der Walt. He's the spokesperson for Africa Exchange. He joins us today to talk about the solutions over the over-the-counter BEE and other limited participation. Stephan, this is a very significant move. You have applied for a license at the FSB. Remind us why you've applied for the license.
Okay, so firstly, perhaps just a correction. We're about to apply for the license. We spent quite a lot of time and effort on that, and that application is now imminent. Just coming back to your question, why we are doing this. Last year, the FSB issued a directive, basically stating that many of the current schemes which trade so-called over-the-counter needs to be licensed as separate exchanges. Now, to do that is not that easy. It's quite expensive, obviously, to start your own exchange. But on top of that, it's quite difficult to comply with all the regulations and make sure that there's the required management of conflict of interest around that as well. So many issuers has been affected with that, and issuers were faced with a couple of questions or alternatives in terms of what they could do. Some of them actually suspended trading in their shares. Others of them went back to the FSB and asked for an exemption. And for some of them, exemptions were granted, but only for a limited time, and they actually now have to go back to the FSB to say what their plans are, or alternatively that they need to look at some form of an exchange alternative, whether their own or going to the JSE or a new exchange like this for Africa Exchange.
So now you're offering this. Is this in practice offering all these people who the FSB was addressing, is this saying now here's the place that you can trade, or is this for some of them?
Absolutely. We're sure that we would be able to accommodate all of them in terms of their specific schemes. But it's also much wider than that. It's also for companies seeking liquidity in their shares with no actual restrictions on their shares that's looking for a trading platform.
Is this like now competition for the JSE at last?
We'll see. I think that our strategy is definitely not to be a competition for the JSE. We first need to address the issue in the market, being giving a solution to the limited participation share schemes. I do, however, think that many of the Altex issuers may find this as an alternative for them. So they will need to investigate their various options, etc. It will be a lower cost alternative. Wouldn't say less regulation, but we have the listing requirement is different than that of the JSE. So we will more look towards the Companies Act requirements, and all the listings requirements are very much aligned with that. And then we've added a lot of disclosure obligations on issuers to make sure that there's proper price finding in the market. So obviously the disclosure of information in a timely manner, in an accurate manner, etc. is very important to deal with issues like insider trading, making sure that shareholders can price their transactions correctly, etc. We also think, having done quite a bit of research in this space, there's amazing companies that's actually trading over the counter. Many companies that investors are not actually looking at, with 2-3 billion rand plus market caps. They can any day actually come onto the JSE trading at 5-6% dividend yields, at 50% discounts to net asset value. You don't get those type of companies on or those type of pricing on the JSE currently. So we do think with the exposure that comes with the exchange, there will be probably a lot of other investors also starting to look at this specific sector, which was otherwise not necessarily aware of these companies.
So Stephan, listing requirements will be less. You're looking at offering a solution to this problem, but you say you're not going to be a competitor, although it does sound like you are offering some competition. But tell us about the process, because this is a first. If you are granted the license, this is the second stock exchange. So for others who may be looking at this as an opportunity, what process did you have to go through, or you're currently going through?
Yeah, look, it's quite a long process that you actually need to go through. The Financial Markets Act is also a very new act. So there hasn't been any exchange that actually has gone through the process of being granted a license under the new act. So obviously the JSE already had its license before the act actually came into place. So we've been been busy with this project for about 14 months now. We've been engaging with the Financial Services Board on a continuous basis up to now to test ideas and exactly how it should work, and to get to a place where we believe that they would be comfortable with what we would be putting on the table. Where we need to go from here is now to obviously make the actual application. There's obviously a lot of legal work around that in terms of the drafting of the listing requirements, the exchange rules, setting the whole infrastructure up. And then the license will go through a process with the Financial Services Board, for which they have about 180 days to look at that specific application. In the meantime, we can obviously still do a lot of other things. So a big part of this is actually the exchange technology on which this is built. We have the advantage, I would say, coming in late, that we can now use state-of-the-art new technology that's not available on other exchanges. So, you know, to trade on mobile devices, on web-based platforms, we intend making use of a cloud platform as well. So I think, you know, that gives us the ability to give a very cost-efficient solution to almost the modern market.
Fascinating. We must get him in again to hear more about it, because we are in the JSE now. There's a back door if you just want to slip out. Okay. Thanks to Stephan Van der Walt, spokesperson for Africa Exchange.